how you relate when you lose. And in relationship, in marriage, losing is conflict. How you relate with the conflict determines how much you're going to win.
Not being afraid of conflict is such a key thing. It's almost like the same as in anything that you're doing in life.
When you show up in relationship as adults, we're not trying to be perfect. Actually, it's ruinous to try and be perfect.
What I actually needed was to be heard and witnessed. I got to the place of saying that to you. It's like, I really need that from you.
If you're not experiencing conflict intermittently, you're not going at big enough dreams that are worthy of you living and dying without regret.
I think what I could have done differently is pause in and be with myself a little more. So that would help me to figure out what it is that I need, drop in a little bit more.
The port in the storm doesn't attack the storm. It's where you have a deep commitment that you will not attack your partner, no matter how challenging their human experience is in that moment.
Hello and welcome to the He Wants, She Wants Marriage podcast. Today we're talking about what to do when the inevitable conflict happens in marriage. Because there's a lot of content about how to avoid conflict. We have an episode on this podcast on that. There's a lot of content about what to do to repair and to communicate better. But what about when it all goes south? When that conflict actually happens and that's it. It has happened and it's messy and it's hurtful and it's tears and it's all of that. What do we do after that to turn what can seem like a failure in the couple, in the relationship, into actually a very powerful learning opportunity? So that's what we're talking about today.
Great cultures in companies, in sporting organizations, and in relationships, they do what can be called as black box debriefing. You go into, and it's most important when a mistake has happened, when a failure has happened, when you've lost in the side. MMA, to talk about there's winning or learning. It's really that mindset of, yeah, it's all cool when you're winning, but what happens, how you relate when you lose. And in relationship, in marriage, losing is conflict. How you relate with the conflict determines how much you're going to win. So in marriage in general, it's probably one of the highest leverage opportunities that is wasted unwittingly by most couples, because the post-conflict relationship together, how that is owned is, the an hour afterwards or the morning after a major conflict, it can go, hey, about last night. And what happens in that moment of time is crucial. About last night. Quite often, it can be ignored completely. There can be this relationship, well, thank God we're through that. Let's do small talk. We just put it under the carpet. We got through. We're still together. Things are fine. Let's keep it a certainty. We did that on repeat for years. I'll hold my hand up. I never wanted to do conflict ever. By crikey, if I didn't want to do conflict when it was happening, I certainly didn't want to bring that shit back up.
Yeah.
The other thing that can happen, which is definitely a characteristic of what I was doing in the past, nice guy style, was if I did bring it up, it would be a sheepish sorry. Hey, I'm sorry about last night. I raised my voice. Hey, I'm sorry. And X, Y, or Z put that in. And that can be a really good thing. It's probably better than not speaking about it. The problem with an apology is quite often it can end up one's right, one's wrong. There's not the full learning from it, and there's no commitment to doing something differently. So, albeit it's a powerful thing in a repair post-conflict, there's winning or learning. There's very little learning.
It's not complete in itself as a process. It's a good start, but it doesn't actually change the thing.
Yeah. And if anything is prodded at in that debrief, hey, about last night, quite often what's going to be prodded at is like, don't forget, like, you committed to show up on time. We will point to what the tension point or the growth opportunity was with the other person, but it's not very well received very often. So it's a highly unskillful and ineffective way of going at things. So what we're going to talk about here is there's these steps. There's the three principles that we've been talking about. There is playing pretty well, port in a storm, and big dreams, small steps. These are the principles that we've been using in marriage that work really powerful. The power of three, they're memorable and actionable. And then we rinse those through the two steps, which is what went well and what would we do differently next time. We're going to go through it for those of you at home. We're not going to teach that's the theory of it.
Mm.
But the most important thing that we want you taking away is like how to do that in a real life conversation. And we had a real juicy conflict, super emotionally charged conversation there yesterday. So we're going to go through it, not in any form of this is how you do it. This is how we will do it now.
Yeah.
So let's jump in there. We'll put the theory into action.
Yeah, just to give a little bit of context. So yesterday I woke up and I've been having health issues for the past few months, years really, but only realized it in the past few months. And there hasn't been much information and much resolution on it just yet. I'm still being tested and still figuring out. So it's quite a challenging thing that's been going on for a while. And yesterday morning, it was a particularly low energy. I've always been the opposite, really active, really strong, doing a lot of physical work. And that's an aspect of my life that's pretty much gone at the moment. But yesterday morning was particular. It was really intense in that way. And even after I have done the things that usually kind of help me, I've learned to manage it a little bit to bring the energy back up. That energy was still not there. So without going into how the physiology influences thoughts and how thoughts influence physiology and how the two things are very connected, my form at breakfast was intense, to say the least.
And that kicked us off into what I would say, when we go to playing pretty well, that's the idea that it is when you show up in relationship as adults, we're not trying to be perfect. Actually, it's ruinous to try and be perfect. And attain some idea of Instagram worthiness as a husband, Instagram worthiness as a wife. And when we try to do that, we inevitably fail and fail bad. And when we're not feeling great, then we get all this resentment comes out. As an adult, playing pretty well is, hey, it's my responsibility that if I'm on an off day, if I'm not flying on all cylinders, and hey, it's easy to ride in on a wave of bliss because everything in life seems to be lining up in that moment. It's particularly important for the moment that you're talking about. Wow.
Mm.
Very little of my full orchestra of human expression is in anywhere near a high vibrational state. It's really low. That's when the depth of bond that and commitment is demonstrated. And it's
Mm.
demonstrated through playing pretty well. Now, looking at that, through the eyes of the first reflective question that I'd encourage everybody to go with is, okay, playing pretty well. Well, what went well?
Mhm.
I pose that to you. What went well in your eyes when you look at that? You come into the morning, you're realizing, God, you've tried all these different habits and rituals that normally help you, but Lord darn it, your neurophysiology just isn't giving you the high energy juice that you really like. So thoughts are floating around. They're not going to be the most optimistic thoughts, etc., etc. What went well from a perspective of playing poorly well?
My answer has to come from about 15 minutes, I think, into the conflict, because up until that
Okay.
point, that's the next question.
Yeah.
What to do differently? But what went well was that at some point in that entire thing, I came to the place of just understanding for myself, first of all, what I needed, because up until that point, I wasn't really fully sure what I really needed. I just was upset. And when we're upset, we get absorbed. That's the point where you're absorbed in your own experience and you forget that
Mm.
there's another human being having actually a human experience there. But in that moment, what went well was, okay, I actually have a need to be heard. What became really obvious to me was what I have been experiencing so far for months on this topic is people trying to fix it, people trying to make me feel better, and that's okay. But what I actually needed was to be heard and witnessed. I got to the place of saying that to you. It's like, I really need that from you. I need you to just sit down beside me because I couldn't actually walk and just hear, not even listen, hear the entire experience that I have until I'm finished expressing it. And I think that was, for me, that was a really major thing because
Mm.
expressing need and actually asking that vulnerably for really what I need. There's a lot of fear of rejection that can come up. There's a ton of stuff that can come up and has come up before. So that for me was like something that I would really celebrate personally.
I could definitely affirm that, and it's an important part is to affirm each other's realizations. It helps our partners lock it in. Is I can definitely know that that was you playing pretty well because when you did that, it really supported me in dropping in rapidly and meeting you there. It was a wonderful, that changed the tapestry of the whole experience when you did that. When I look at playing pretty well and what went well, there was a key moment for myself in playing poorly well. It's foundationally about owning the body story because emotion, energy, and motion is pushing your thoughts and actions everywhere. But until you own it, and there was a key moment where I said to you, it's like, I am feeling exasperated now. In that moment, there was exasperated by you. So I have to say there was a sprinkle of salt of blame, and so it wasn't so skillful. But when I said that, I'm feeling exasperated by you right now. I could feel there was a walking away, but the recognition of I'm exasperated, I could recognize, oh wow, owning that, there was a part of my amygdala went, well, isn't that interesting? Okay, exasperated, and that kicked me into yeah, because of you, with you. Yeah, that's not so true. You're exasperated, Mark. And that really helped me. That helped my emotional system just cool down. I could feel the cooling that came after that, and it helped me meet you in that experience. Now we'll shift to the other part. So the key thing, and for people listening in, is like, why do we start? It's essential that we start with what went well. What tends to happen in any debrief is, hey, what you need to do differently, which it will inevitably bring about a defensiveness or some sort of a feeling of being judged. So you build, as Matilda and myself are doing, we build that ground of, hey, what went well? It just feels good and nourishing to do so.
Mhm.
So now that we shunt into the second part of that on playing pretty well, what do you believe you could have done differently in from a playing poorly well in the whole lot of the conflict, that whole experience? What's a nudge
I think
toward
I could have just yelled at you way quicker, like. I'm joking. I guess I was about to say owning my needs quicker. And yeah, that's a very obvious one. There's also a part of me that's like feeling, that's an interesting statement because there's a lot of judgment, like you haven't personally. This is all internal to me, yeah, not nothing you're doing, but it's like, does that mean I haven't, done it right? I didn't actually know what I needed up until that point. So I couldn't have really owned it quicker because I didn't know. But what I know now is that if I pause, and I think that's the main thing, is like pausing. I think what I could have done differently is pausing and be with myself a little more. So that would help me to figure out what it is that I need, drop in a little bit more. Because that's always something that I've seen can shift from that story that, as you said, is in the head, which usually includes some blame of the other person and attacking the other person and judgments, to I just have this need that was not being met.
that's wonderful. And again, from yeah, it wasn't available in the moment, but that's you speak to a really important part. This is a non-judgmental debrief. Black
Mm,
box thinking when a plane goes down, it has to be ruthlessly objective. No pointing of the finger.
mm,
It's like what's at stake is the most important leadership position and teamwork in a planet, being an inspired family and creating that bond is at stake. So it's ruthlessly non-judgmental. So beautiful point. You taking a power pause, I can see that. A power pause earlier in the exchange that we had very much is very likely to create the circumstances where you would have got in touch with that need quicker.
Hmm.
Perfect. Going to myself, playing poorly well, what I could do differently. I'm going to go macro on this. I entered into the day early, not feeling very well in my body, and I skipped a new habit that I've been trying to form. I can't yet call it a habit, is doing yoga sun salutations in the morning. I've had it hit and miss for the last week, first thing in the morning. And if I took that time to do some form of just a gentle stretch, I would have got into my body more. That would have had me more ready and just feeling more comfortable in my body. I recognized that I had stiffness and tension. So I'm gonna go macro on this. If I like, and here's the thing, that if then for me is I get my ass out of bed because I didn't do it this morning either. That means my learning is, Mark, get your sun salutations done every morning because I don't know when the next conflict might arise, and it will. We live an expansive life together, but I definitely want to enter that next experience having, hey, if I can have the full momentum of 7 mornings of sun salutations when my body is going to be feeling better. So I'm going to be able to enter that experience with you and be less tight and thus be able to evoke your trust.
Cool. I'm hearing that.
Mm,
Feeling more resourced, arriving there more resourced.
yeah.
Hmm.
S-
There's something that's coming very spontaneously now. And it's like, I know we talked about two steps.
I'm feeling decidedly unsafe with spontaneity and a wicked smile on your face. Go for it.
No, what I'm feeling is something that well, definitely does come up for me. I don't know if it comes up for you
Mm.
as well, but it's like when the other person says what they could have done differently. So when you say what you could have done differently, I have a list of suggestions for that, and it's like it's very natural in that moment to want to go, well, I can tell you what you could have done differently, and to be judgmental of the one thing that, because we're focusing on one thing and we're not focusing on a list, because one thing is implementable, a list is a lot of stuff. So to do your habit in the morning, or for me to do a power pose, that's one thing each, and it's my responsibility to do the power pose, it's your responsibility to do the other thing. So that's really simple to implement for next time.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have a list. So something that was coming up for me, it's like a third step could be, I know I'm bringing this like this, but what really helped me was from something that you do. So rather than going into wanting to tell that list to the other person, and just release that judgment for a moment, park it, because that's not going to help. That's actually going to bring more conflict easily.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to express to the other person, and we're going into recognition effectively,
Yeah.
that something that you did yesterday actually was helpful, so that we're drawing more of that for the next
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be at the end of this entire process, or it could be now. That depends. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm bringing it in like this, so we didn't prepare this.
It's pure feminine, untamable, unpredictable, unboxable. I love it. Infuriating and exhilarating in equal measure. You can bring it in. Like the debrief, let's put it as context specific. If, and sometimes it might be to the magnitude of the conflict. Wow, that just was like so intense, and it's necessary to have a really deep and thorough comprehensive debrief. The more richness you can bring in, the better. It's the points are super quick. Let's do this. It's like cup of coffee in the morning, you're going off to work, weekend. We mightn't have a lot of time in family life. Oh God, I have to bring the kids to the match. But you want to have a 10-minute, and you can sort of quickly get through them. If you have a longer period of time, hey, go into the depths of it. Now you can quickly do that. So it's just what's appropriate with the time constraints that's available to the conversation.
I think I'm sticking with it. I like it. We'll sample it
Okay,
next
sample, bring it.
time.
Bring it.
Well, what one thing that I found helpful is actually that you, when I expressed my need, you came
Mm,
and you sat beside me.
mm, mm.
It's like that was helpful.
Thank you. One thing that helped me, we're still with the playing pretty well, when you own your need to stop, you own the need, and it brought a recognition of just how tired and exhausted you were in that moment. If you didn't do that, you could have got exceptionally irritable from trying to walk when you didn't have the energy. So that was really helpful.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's go to port in the storm.
Mm-hmm.
So we've just done playing pretty well, port in the storm. What went well? Port in the storm for you. Port in the storm is it's the setting of a container and it's in the intensity of conflict. Just a reminder for people at home, it's the port in the storm doesn't attack the storm. It's where you have a deep commitment that you will not attack your partner no matter how challenging their human experience is in that moment. So it's just to give a foundational entry point to it.
Mm-hmm. I still go back to owning my need as a setting of that, because port also has a boundary in itself. We
Mhm.
mentioned that aspect of the port. It's like, yes, you're welcoming in boats that come in from the storm, but you have, like, there's a wall to one side, a pier to the, like, there's a certain container to it. And for me, that was the container. Is like, this is actually what I need. I'm gonna be very clear that I don't want you to fix it. I don't want you to tell me that it's gonna get better. I don't want you to show me the trends of how this is getting better. I just want you, my need is for you to just hear me. Then
Mhm.
after that, we can do all of that part. But
Yeah,
I need you to hear me first.
yeah. What I'm hearing in that is the emotion of anger, it seems, because anger is the emotion setting,
Yeah.
it's a boundary setting emotion. There was an anger going, hey, I know what I don't want, but most importantly, you brought what you did want.
Mhm.
That was
Mhm.
super effective for me. Port in the storm impeccably. Immovable, but you weren't attacking me.
Yeah, it's not that the other stuff is wrong, but just right now what I
Yeah.
need is this. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful point. A deeply meaningful my side. Port in the storm, what went well for myself, when you express that need so directly, there was still a part of me. I'm gonna say anger, guys, but it's not anger as you'd normally be saying, oh, I was super. No, there was anger telling me, yeah, but not yet. I'm not willing to jump into that experience with you just yet. And what went well was I recognized I'm feeling that there was a part of you up until that point unwillingly stuck in rehearsal, rehearsing a story where, hey, if I don't express this need, that's just gonna I can see, hear you and keep you safe, but you're just gonna be talking, talking, talking. I stalled and went, I'm not yet ready to get into it. I really want you to shift from rehearsal on repeat to at least 1% a nudge towards resolution, where you're expressing your human experience, but you're pointing towards a resolving of that inner conflict or that what was happening inside of you. And when I did that, I felt really ready to enter that experience with you. You heard me, and hey, your first words after that, I could really feel you were pointed towards true resolution. So that went really well.
Mhm.
Let's jump to step two. So step two, what could we do differently next time? This is where we're going with self-recognition.
I think it's the pause again, because that rehearsing happens when we have a story on repeat in our heads. And in that moment, again, when that happens, we get absorbed into the story, and there isn't a wanting for resolution. Now, that is not a thing that is wrong in itself. There is a reason why we get stuck in rehearse. Reason being, we haven't felt witness, we haven't felt seen. So It's not something to judge as a wrong thing. But when you pause and you notice that that's what's happening,
Mm.
then that leads you to the need and to the solution. So I think there again, I believe that what you said to me actually brought the pause for me, because you saying not yet, which is wonderful. I have to do. I need you to do this first. I
Mm.
was like, oh, there's that pause.
Okay.
But if what I could do differently would be, yeah, I could remind myself that I need to pause
Yeah.
if I'm catching that rehearsing energy, which is not conducive. Yeah.
What I would do differently, I wouldn't have stepped away. There was that moment of, oh, I'm feeling exasperated with you, and it was there was I started taking steps away. The exasperation took my awareness, and it went, I've got to get away from this demon in my life that is causing this exasperation. And it was like it was bull crap. But I know that that can be a ruinous path for me. That the righteous resistance, if that takes hold, and if I start, it's like if I get a bit of momentum in, that part gets momentum in, and it steps up the road, I end up feeling free. And it's very tempting to just keep walking up the road. So those few steps, I'm like, yeah, I caught it after 8, 9 steps and breathe it in. But what I would do differently next time is just stand and power pause ultimately. So power pause, no steps away. Just be cook in the exasperation. Cook in it, don't step. Exasperation is not a permission slip to go stepping away. So that's what I would have done differently. Now, going to step 3, brought in by my feminine goddess, disobeying all the rules. What worked really well? What was really helpful?
You came back after a couple of steps.
Okay.
That was really helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's simple.
Right. What was helpful in your practice of port in the storm? What really helped me was you received my request. I expressed what I wanted, and you didn't go into a defensive, you know, anything of that. You simply listened. You led vulnerably with what you wanted, which I know is vulnerable for you, an age with your family history and a lot of things. So I met your want with a not yet. I want this, and then I'll give you your want.
Mhm.
In a loaded moment, and you met me there. That
Mhm.
was wonderful. So let's tie this all up. We go to principle number 3, and principle number 3 is big dreams, small steps. Guys at home, if you've done what Matilda and myself have done with the first two principles of playing pretty well, what went well, what you do differently next time, and hey, the recognition of what was really helpful in what you did, step 3. If you've done that for the first two principles, you've really nailed big dreams, small steps, because all of these small steps that we've taken, they're building the capacity that, hey, the big dream just gets bigger because there's that sense of trust, there's that sense of safety, there's that sense of confidence that rises in our nervous systems, knowing, oh, wow, we're winning or learning, and we've learned so much from another conflict. I know I have so much confidence in looking forward to a future with you, knowing I can be or have whatever I want in myself, in marriage, in our parenting, in our adventures in the world, because conflict hasn't went into the shitter. I'm not afraid of conflict.
Mm.
I have a confidence that, hey, we do this every single time. Conflicts get less and less. They get less intense. They don't last as long. And every single time we, in this debrief process, we take the juice, which means when conflicts are there, they're for actually for much higher order problems because we're expanding that much and are. So yeah.
Yeah, that not being afraid of conflict is such a key thing. It's almost like the same as in anything that you're doing in life. If you're afraid of failure, you're not going to expand much. And in relationship, there is an element of that. We're not looking for conflict just for the fun of it, but to be able to have a set of skills, not to be afraid of it when it does happen, because otherwise we're stuck in avoiding them. And yes, there are skills to try and not to create conflict, of course, but when we do everything in order to avoid conflict, we're ultimately suppressing a ton of parts of ourselves inevitably. Like you're going to have to silence some element of yourself to avoid conflict at all cost all the time if you're afraid of it. And expansions doesn't come out of that. It's
Mm.
gonna be remaining stuck. So that's a big, really important point.
If you're not experiencing conflict intermittently, you're not going at big enough dreams that are worthy of you living and dying without regret. And as
Mm.
a couple, like that's the meaningful thing. We say what drives us here and he wants, she wants is y- your greatest legacy in life is leaving behind an inspired family. I mean, it's what drives yourself and myself in everything that we're doing here at home in our relationship and with you guys in the podcast. So, I mean, conflict you got to get used to, winning or learning style.
Yeah.
This episode has been amazing. Our fullest expectations, people at home have taken a massive amount of juice. It's not just the process of it, but the demonstration and the vicarious witnessing. There's a ton of juice. I definitely, when I was listening to you, like the amount of different nuggets of how you can reflect about, and that's a skill set in and of itself. So, profound value. The challenge that we set to you guys at home is click follow or subscribe whatever your platform is. That's one of the highest leverage things you can do for your marriage right now today. Click follow or subscribe on your platform. And with that, until the next episode, dare to go get what you want in marriage. Bye, guys.
Bye.